Well, hello, Christ Chapel South Campus. I'm glad you could be here, and I'm sorry that I am not there. I planned on being there, and I'll just blame it on the kids. I had too many things going on. I do plan on coming out and being with you next week, but thank you to Micah and Holly for sharing. And I want to give you a little informational and answer any questions people might have about what they are checking out here. But I want to start by playing a little video. So watch this, if I can do it right.
We came to Reengage because our marriage was in trouble and we didn't know where to turn.
Because of my unfaithfulness and selfishness.
We were out of options.
We wanted to take our marriage from a good one to a great one.
On the outside, we looked perfect, but on the inside, we were broken.
We were on the verge of divorce. I was full of bitterness and anger.
I was unfaithful in my marriage.
Recovering from infidelity and separation.
Because our marriage was falling apart as a consequence of my struggle with alcoholism.
A struggle with pornography that was just leaving her hurt.
I think my wife started realizing, being empty nesters coming up real soon, that she was going to be stuck just with me, and we need to do something to make our marriage better.
And we needed help reconnecting and communicating with each other.
We came to Reengage because our marriage was in desperate need of a resurrection.
I wanted out, but I knew God didn't want me to give up on our marriage.
The first day we walked into Reengage, I felt
skeptical,
a little awkward,
very ashamed,
overwhelmed,
really angry,
and I really wanted to hide.
He wanted to come and I came along practically kicking and screaming.
I felt nervous, I felt embarrassed, but I felt hopeful after we heard the testimony that night.
We felt an energy that was hard to describe, a transparency that we had not seen before.
We felt hopeless, but knew we were in the right place.
When we started Reengage, we rated our marriage a 4 out of 10.
0.5.
2.
7.0.
1. About a 4.
6.
0.
0. Just with a little hope.
7.
A 3, but I think that was way too high.
One of the biggest things I realized
was we couldn't do this alone.
Our marriage was a covenant and not a contract.
A covenant that did not depend on circumstances and was a lifelong commitment.
Other marriages had survived what we had been through and were thriving.
We had a good marriage by the world's standard, but God's plan for marriage and our marriage was much greater.
We don't have to settle for just getting by.
I thought we were good communicators, but we really weren't.
How I have been encouraged to lead my family well.
That my spouse was not the problem, I was.
How controlling I was in that relationship. I have been trying to change him all these years.
We both need work and we both need grace.
It was not about fixing each other, but it was about God transforming us into people that would love each other the way that we had committed to love each other.
Christ changed our marriage by changing my heart and leading me back to Him and to my wife.
It took time, but we had hope where there was none.
He laid down his life for us. I'm called to lay down my life for her.
By applying and pursuing the Word of God in our life.
To remain faithful, living through difficult times.
Teaching me how to lead biblically.
By showing me what it meant to be a godly wife.
My identity is in Christ alone, not in my marriage, not in my husband, not in how good or bad we're doing, but that God is the only one who can satisfy me.
Christ changed our marriage by resurrecting it.
One of the things that I liked about Reengage
was the connection we made with our leaders and with our group.
It started awkward at first, but we were really close friends towards the end.
Lasting friendships that go on to this day.
We got to focus one night a week on just building our marriage.
we became fully known and accepted.
We weren't alone in our situation.
Seeing all the other couples that had the same issues that we had.
We were able to see how God was restoring other couples' marriages.
How much fun it was. Most every week we showed up, we laughed, and we were surprised.
Now our marriage is characterized by grace,
understanding,
thankfulness, and joy.
Just daily, consistent communication and oneness.
By trying to make each other the highest priority instead of our children, which has always been our struggle.
honesty, and just plain fun.
Forgiveness,
friendship,
our perseverance, commitment.
By looking to God as the authority.
I love my husband more every day.
By biblical application and seeking Jesus in all things.
If you're considering coming to Reengage,
the one thing I would want you to know
is that you're not alone.
It is a safe place to reconnect.
Everything is possible with God.
And the only way we can live the marriages that He's planned for us is by living by His Word.
Just living authentically in community will be a game changer for you.
It isn't a quick fix, but Reengage gave me the opportunity and the tools that I needed to start working on our marriage. marriage and to be the leader that my wife needed me to be.
No matter how bad things are,
Do not give up on your marriage.
God can heal and create something beautiful even from the messiest marriage.
Any marriage can benefit from it. You're going to grow if you dive in.
Stop considering and do it. It's an incredible investment into your marriage.
Let us process this thing called marriage with you.
You will not be disappointed.
So whether your marriage is a 1 and you want to get to a 2, or an 8 and you want to get to a 9, Reengage is a safe place to reconnect, reignite, or resurrect your marriage. No matter where you are, you can grow in your relationship with Christ and begin to experience God's plan for your marriage.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to Reengage.
Okay, I can attest to all of that. My wife and I went through Reengage, the pilot season that Christ Chapel offered it, and I can brag on it because I didn't write it. It is a game changer, like they said. And but what I want to do in this time is briefly define what it is. My goal is to clarify things and let you know what you're test driving right now. So Reengage is a marriage, excuse me, is a marriage discipleship process that joins you and your spouse for marriage enrichment in a small group context. And it's done with the facilitator couple. So there's a mouthful in that. It's a marriage discipleship process, meaning we believe that this is the context for discipleship. We believe marriage is the context that God gave you to grow closer to him. It's not just simply, the main goal is not simply just to grow closer to one another, though we want that obviously, but it's Christ and it's through him that real change actually occurs. And therefore it's a marriage discipleship process. It's not a quick fix. It takes time to get here. It's going to take time to change, but slow growth is the kind that really is I think the most powerful growth there is. And so this is a 16-week program. I mean, we've shortened it to 14 weeks, but if you add the open groups on the beginning, it ends up still being 16 weeks. And we're aiming for something that's deeper, that takes time. So Reengage gets people on the right trajectory in a process. And it is a couple small group. It's not a class. I hear people refer to Reengage as a class often, but you're not here to learn a bunch of new things that you might learn in a class. It's also not counseling. I've heard Reengage referred to both as a class and as counseling, but we're not counseling you here. When you come to a counseling appointment, in a marriage counseling appointment, you feel, I think automatically your defenses go up because you're sitting next to somebody who wants to change you and you're talking to somebody whose goal is to change you. That fosters defensiveness. And the truth is, when you come into a small group context, it's a lot different because you're listening in on other people as they talk about what God's teaching them, and your defenses just go down. I remember for me sitting and listening to other couples process the homework and thinking to myself, that's what Brandy's been saying to me. But when Brandy talks to me directly and confronts me about something or points out something, my ears close up and my defenses go up. But it's safer to listen to other people process. And so it's a small group context, not a classroom, not counseling. It's also done with a facilitator couple. So this is not led by counselors. Rather, it's led by shepherd leaders who have been through Reengage. That's their main qualification. They have been through Reengage. Their other qualification is they know how to be real. They are going through Reengage with you. The difference is they've been through this before. So they know the twists and the turns. They know what to expect. They are Reengage leaders because they were good students. They knew how to stay in their lanes, focus on their own issues, not on their spouses. They learned how to apply things to themselves, and they experienced some change, but you're not being led by people who have arrived. Your groups are not being led by people who are coming down from their holy mountain to tell you how to do marriage. Rather, they're just couples who might have the same arguments that you have the same weeks that you're going through the same material. And they set the table to show you that it's safe to talk about things and to be open. So everyone in the group is on the same journey together. What that means You might have leaders who are younger than you. You might have leaders who have not been married as long. You might have leaders who are not as mature as you. That's okay. They're not there to teach you. They're there to just simply walk through this trail that they've been through. And frankly, some of our younger leaders are our best leaders. I mean, so everyone on the group is on the same journey to marital oneness. And the last thing, yeah, this joins you and your spouse for marriage enrichment. It's for everyone. It's not just for broken couples who are on their last, hanging by a thread. Actually, the people who report the best experience in Reengage are the ones who self-report as giving themselves a 7 out of 10 marriage rating. You might not have done this yet, but we'll send you an email that asks you to rate your marriage 1 to 10, 10 being great. And the average rating we get is a 5 across the board. But the people who rate as a 7 coming in usually report the most enthusiastic results from going through Reengage because they're not putting out some big fire. They're just building into the marriage. But we have people who rate real low, 1, 2, 3, and they also, this material is perfect for those couples. It's good for couples who are struggling and for those who are really happy. Frankly, I'll say, I think rocky marriages often I have more hope for rocky marriages than I do for those complacent coexisting couples who are just kind of going through the motions and they think they're happy. But being here at Reengage will open your eyes to God's standard and what he wants for you. I'm going to say give some defining characteristics of Reengage. We are very explicit. We focus on Christ for growth and change. He's the one who improves your marriage. It's not techniques. I mean, if we teach you how to communicate better, that's great. I mean, communication's awesome, but if your heart's not changed and you become a better communicator, you really just become a better manipulator. You learn how to not use words like always and never, and we don't say things like you do this, you do that. Sure, you could play by those rules, but if you are serving your agenda, your kingdom, and you're not submitted to Christ, you're not really changing. Behavior management doesn't work. It's Christ and Christ alone. And frankly, it's dependence on him. It's needing him. And a lot of times what brought us to Reengage is the fact that we can't change ourselves. We can't change our spouses. We can't improve our marriages on our own. And we felt a sense of desperation. That's a good place to be, because especially if that desperation points you to your need for him. We also look to bring about heart transformation. And this is a little redundant, but what we feel is broken in our marriages, the things that are catching our attention, they're always symptoms of a deeper problem that resides in the heart. Jesus said in Luke chapter 6 that a good tree can't bear bad fruit and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. The biggest marriage problem we have is our own hearts. If you're not convinced yet, as you go through the program, I think you will be. It's done through biblical community. These groups are made up of people who are and are led by people who are committed to being open and vulnerable, allowing you to know them as they are. We're not putting on a mask or a church face, but we pick our leaders because they're able to talk about the arguments they had on the way to church that day, or on their way to Reengage, and they set the table for you to allow yourselves to be known in a way that we're not really comfortable and accustomed to talking about typically at church. And that openness, that vulnerability is where people begin to be seen and known, and they start to change. But then you will get to know each other well enough that this group will morph into something where you start to speak the truth and love to each other. Most of us are married to someone who either speaks the truth or will either in love not speak the truth, meaning there are some of us who we don't want the hard conversations, so we avoid them. We just want to have love and harmony. And then there's others who speak the truth and you feel like you just got hit over the head with a baseball bat. These groups will get to know you. If you allow yourself to be known, and they won't be mad at you at the same time. They will get to know you and be able to speak the truth in love. And it's rarely experienced, but that's something that regularly happens in Reengage. And I will just say, this is the primary way we minister to marriages. It's effective for nearly everyone, for those who are doing well and want to grow, and for those who are really struggling. It doesn't work, though, well for people who can't function in a small group, meaning Reengage will not fit well for you if you can't talk in a small group context without yelling at each other, without interrupting each other. You have to be able to behave well enough. It doesn't work for people who are hurting too much for a small group context, and that may be you. It also doesn't work for couples where only one person is participating. So if only one of you is doing the homework and one of you is participating and showing up, what will happen is that person who is doing the work will start to become more and more resentful as they watch their spouse going through the motions, faking it, pretending, or maybe just not even showing up. And they're watching all these other marriages grow and start to thrive. And then you've got your spouse who doesn't care enough. It adds resentment. And so if you only have one person participating, I would say don't do Reengage. You might want to seek counseling instead. Okay, so what are you committing to? Let me share the screen again. Doing this, by the way, reminds me that I don't miss Zoom. Okay, so what are you committing to? Well, this is a 14-week ministry. Once closed groups get assigned, it's a 14-week commitment. So this week and next week are open groups, and you are test driving Reengage. You're not committed. Nobody who's here yet is officially committed to it. So it's like we're dating each other right now. You are not formally committed, but once you're formally committed, it's a 14-week ministry. You have homework that lasts about 1 to 2 hours a week. I'm not downplaying that. I think the Reengage manual takes about 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes if you're really, really thoughtful about the questions. There's a teaching and a testimony video that goes with each lesson. So you add that up and it's about 1 to 2 hours. And then you come together for small group discussion, which is like 90 minutes a week. It's an hour and a half. We cut out the large group time together. So you have an hour and a half to discuss. So however you add that up, that's 2.5 to 3.5 hours a week, not including driving time. Can I give a quick, I'm going to save you guys from an argument, maybe a multiple arguments, is when it comes to the homework and going through the Reengage manual together. I can say right now that it's a good chance that one of you imagines doing the homework together in a way that you're going to get together, 1 or 2 nights after you meet, and you're going to sit face to face on the couch and talk eye to eye for 2 hours and connect as you share your heart over the answers. And you are probably married to someone who's thinking, well, we can talk about the answers on our way to Reengage. Okay, that's going to be an argument. And my suggestion is figure out what that expectation is and get that ironed out before you get started. If you are on the same page about what going through the homework looks like, you're in a good place. And I would say shoot for being relatively brief at the beginning, especially if there's tension. Say let's talk about this for 30 minutes, Thursday night when the kids are down, whatever. Okay, let me point out, this is what the Reengage manual looks like. I scanned in chapter 1. It's this short. There's some reading, there's the rest of the reading, and then these are the questions. That's it. There's 6 questions. One of those, number 6, is an action item. It says, write a letter to your spouse, thanking them for going through Reengage. That's pretty manageable. It gets to the point. I created a syllabus that goes along with this. We email this PDF to you, and basically I'll just walk you through, to be prepared for week 1, complete your homework from lesson 1, 5 to, read these pages, watch this video, click on this link, watch this testimony. It's 17 minutes long. And, it basically walks you through, and it'll take you to one of these links. Who's that handsome guy? Anyway, that that's what the Reengage syllabus looks like. So the syllabus works just like a class syllabus. It accompanies your Reengage manual, the book. And I think as far as all that goes, what's next is you've got this week and next week, which are your open group. You are getting a feel for whether or not you want to go through this program. We're not, like I said, you're not committed to it, but it's this week and next week. You have an opportunity to say whether you want to commit to it. You have an opportunity to say yes or no to that question in your small group time. And then we're looking to see if you're committed. We're asking that you come to both Reengage groups, open groups this week and next week. And when you commit to it, we're asking you to commit to coming to every Reengage meeting. And if you miss, if you're going to miss more than 2 Reengage meetings this semester, then we'd say find a different time to do it. We want you to commit to being there, to doing the homework, and we're going to email you after today. We're going to email you a questionnaire. We're asking you to. I'm going to share the screen again. So these first 2 weeks are open groups. This is an opportunity for you to evaluate if it's a fit for you, and you and your spouse are going to fill out a questionnaire. And I'm asking both of you to respond to that questionnaire. You give your marriage rating, what it is, or how you want to grow. And then after next week, we're going to send you another email asking you if you're ready to commit, and you have an opportunity to buy your books. I think the books are $25 each, and you could buy a PDF version of the book for $5. And after that, we will place you in a closed group. We'll send you a formal commitment. You're committing to doing the homework, watching the teachings, attending all the group meetings. You're committing to sharing openly and vulnerably in your group, sticking with Reengage for the entire time. And we ask, do you realize that if you do not commit to this process, you'll be asked to leave the group? I mean, there's a good chance. We've done it before, because people who don't commit to the process end up spoiling the dynamic for everybody else, frankly. So I hope I hope that answers all the questions. We're going to have an abbreviated small group time after this, watching this video, but I think that's it. When you finish, try to finish by 8 o'clock and pick up your kids, because we don't want to burn any bridges with the kids care ministry. They're doing us a great service, but I think that's it. Blessings. Micah and Holly might be able to answer your questions. If not, they can refer you to me, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.